The biggest episode of the year, and I won't waste any time getting right into it either. It's the fifth annual Top 100 Names to Know in High School Hockey. That's right. I got 76 seniors, 23 juniors, and just one sophomore make up the 2025 list of top 100 names. 64 forwards, 21 defensemen, and I think a record high 15 goalies from across 60 different programs across the state of Michigan. 29 players are back from last year's list as well. There's kind of a new stat for you this year. So I'll highlight some of those guys too along the way who have climbed up the list since 2024 as well. Like and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube before we get started, and let's talk some hockey, shall we? So I said 5 years I've been doing this top 100 now. And this year in particular is by far the most prepared I've been in advance of the podcast. Scouting, assembling the list, writing the blog on pdspicks.com, which is linked in the description below. The graphics you'll see on your screen today. Usually I'm scrambling last minute, pulling college level all nighters, trying to finish things up so I can get this out to the masses, but not this year. A little more methodical approach, everything nice, neat, and packaged up, ready to go. So I guess year 5 is where we really start to hit our stride on the PD's Picks pod. We'll see how the rest of the season unfolds. Maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but as far as the list, criteria hasn't really changed. These are all returning players, meaning they played high school hockey last year or at some point prior in their careers. And there's no shade towards newcomers or first year guys coming over from the AAA circuit. I'll actually do a list of top 25 newcomers to high school hockey later this season. I believe I dropped that last year, sometime around New Year's. So maybe stay tuned for that. This list is just my way of acknowledging or appreciating the guys who have been here the longest. And on top of that, I look for high level prospects. Who's capable of playing beyond high school hockey, who can play at the junior level, who has the potential to play NCAA hockey. And in some cases, like number 5 ranked Dean Locus back in 2021, professional hockey. He's actually, I think, one of 30 or so Michigan high school hockey alumni currently playing in the ECHL, the AHL, or the NHL currently. So, and then also just their overall skill and ability at the varsity level and their impact and importance to their respective team. This is not the 100 best players in high school hockey today. It's not. It's never been designed to be that. Are some of these players the best in the game today? Yes. Are there better, more talented players left off this list? Yes, it happens every year. But where some may lack in a certain skill set, they may also be their team's number one option in line for a breakout season. And where others may be uber talented, they may just be on a really deep team and only the 4th or 5th biggest threat on their own team. So a lot goes into consideration with this list every year. I put a ton of time and preparation into it. And if you've been watching recent episodes of the conference previews leading up to this season, you've probably heard me talk about a lot of these guys already, but still plenty more commentary, insight, and analysis to share. So I'm excited about this particular group. So let's get into it here. If I can go with a little split screen for you. We will open up with the top 100 returning players of the 2025-26 season. We'll get right into your first look at the first 10 here. I won't touch on all 100 players here on the pod today, but we'll point out a few of my favorites among each group. I do have analysis of all 100 players on the blog on pdspicks.com, so be sure to check out the link in the description below. Let me start right here. Kellen Kieran, number 100 here, 12 goals and 23 points a season ago, but I expect a huge increase in his role with Stony Creek this year. There were times this fall where he was MHA Navy's most productive player. He's a big kid, maybe needs some polishing, but good about mucking it up in front of the net and scoring some of those gritty garbage goals in front. Climbing up the list here a little bit, Andrew Wiedenbach at number 98. He played in some pretty big shadows last season. Salem had a dominant first line, one for the ages there with 2025 Mr. Hockey recipient Nolan Kaminsky at the center of it. Rocks are going to be pretty young this year after graduating their quote unquote big four. So that really opens the door for Wiedenbach to play a significant role in this offense. He certainly has the skill set. I liked his footwork as a sophomore, active without the puck. After a year of growing and development, I expect him to be even better, especially with that increased opportunity. Uh, Continuing here, there were times last season where Jacob Aaron was rock solid for GRCC in net. 5 shutouts as a junior. 4 of them came before the new year last year. Really kept a young Cougars team in a lot of games that maybe they shouldn't have been last season. Because the team was so young, it led to some tough losses the other way too. And Aaron's numbers weren't earth shattering by any means, but the Cougs have acquired experience in that time, though. First year coach Kyle Marchand brings some new ideas to the mix as well. And let's be honest, Aaron is improved from last season as well. So I think all that adds up really well for Aaron and GRCC with a big winter ahead. I'll throw one more at you here out of this group of 10. Jeremy Schroeder out of Dexter. Last season's Dexter team felt like a bit of an anomaly, winning 21 games just 1 year after the program only won 6 back in 23-24. You've heard me talk about the importance of that senior class, graduating 9, including Jaden Boomhauer, Austin Hutchison, Jack Burke, Cade Stock in net as well. But let's not forget Schroeder was the one who led the Dreads in scoring last season. 34 goals, 62 points. He may not have as strong of a supporting cast around him as he did before. Time will tell on that front. More to come. But Coach Grundy is building this program well and a ton of momentum on the heels of last season. Schroeder could certainly help carry over some of that good juju as well, keeping an eye on Schroeder and the Dreads this season. We'll climb up the list here a little bit. A look at the 80s for you. Justin Halverson at 87 out of Forest Hills Northeastern. Kid had a huge fall in the MDHL, third in the league in points with 23 in just 12 games. Then he led his MDHL white team to the league championship with 6 points, 4 of which came in the championship game where white defeated black 4-1. He was a tournament team kid for the MD. He was in the league showcase in October. Halverson's had a very busy, productive fall leading into the varsity season, and I think it could pay off big for him and the Bird Dogs. Might still be a bit of a tough year overall. They won just 8 games last season. I'd like them to surpass that win total. I'll take the over there for sure. Halverson plus Nolan Gino, a couple others there back for Northeast. So I think they're going to be all right, but still maybe a year or so away from really getting back on that state scene. One spot ahead of Halverson here, I got Zach Del Monte. This Shores team has a bunch of talented forwards. The top line of Gavin McKee, Caden Gersh, Isaiah Pecora, all back for the Lakers this season, combined for 55 of the team's 115 goals right there with that trio. But I don't know what happens to this team without that anchored presence on the blue line from Del Monte. He can get involved in the offense, 5 goals and 16 points in 18 games last season. The 7 games without Del Monte in the lineup, though, the Lakers were just 4-3 in that span. So I think for this group to win games and have success, they've got to be tight defensively. Senior goalie Will Young certainly helps, but I think Del Monte is the linchpin holding it all together, though, at both ends of the rink. And speaking of top lines, Liggett had a pretty dominant trio last season of their own, with number 82 Nick Gould and his line mates Griffin Marshall and the now graduated Gary Stacey. Gould is a finisher. He had 20 goals and 30 points as a junior. Him and Marshall enter their third season together with the Knights. So a ton of chemistry and familiarity there. Just a huge weapon for Liggett to have. Marshall making plays and then Gould finding open space where he can finish from. I said the Metro League could be wide open this year. I know Liggett won the division last year, but why not us a second time, right? So before I get ahead of myself too far here, let me take a pause, and I'll touch on this one more for you here in the 80s. Both Adelar Hovis and this next guy rank among the top and active players at their position in high school hockey right now. I think that's important to call out real quick, too, for the historians in the room. Hovis enters his junior season with 110 points. That puts him in the top 10 among active players right now, and he's just now a junior. We'll see a couple other players from that group a little later on as well. But the other one I wanted to touch on here too was Laporte at 80. Lee Laporte out of Portage. Tied for the second most games played among active goalies with 65, 33 wins over that stretch with a career .926 save percentage. Laporte hasn't quite gotten the attention some other guys on the West Side have over the years. A lot of 3 and 4 year goalies in the Grand Rapids area that have garnered more attention than Laporte. And hey, hi, I'm guilty of it too. But his numbers are off the charts, and if he does it for a fourth straight season for the Muskies, I think it's really hard to deny his resume and his body of work at that point. I talked about Logan Beckwith on the SVL preview a few weeks back, but I still don't think I did it justice. Guys, everyone in the state has a guy on their team, their go-to option offensively, or just flat out, he's a hockey player, period, right? There's guys who play hockey and then guys who are hockey players. Eat, sleep, breathe. He comes walking up to you and that's a hockey player right there. Every program has at least one of those guys. And for Genesee, it's obviously Beckwith with his AAA background. But the thing I can't get over is 71 points as a junior last season, a point in 24 of 25 games for the Generals. Beckwith isn't a guy you can hide in your rotation. He's not a guy you can mix and match with and try to play favorable matchups with the opponent. Identifying and keying in on Genesee's top guy is pretty easy to do for the opponent. Yet time after time after time, Beckwith found a way onto the score sheet against the likes of Caledonia, Flint Powers, TC West, Heritage, Midland, Bay City. These are good programs who still didn't have an answer for the kid. I've seen it time and time again over my, call it 15 plus years, where stat stuffers with 70, 80 points in a season put up 7 points against the last place team and then get skunked by the number one team. Not Beckwith. Kids like Thanos, man, like he's just inevitable. He's making an impact on the game one way or another, come hell or high water. And if you want to come at me about your stat line this year, let me preface this. Like, here you go. Don't come at me with your 5 goals in a 10-1 mercy over Our Lady of the Lakes. Show me your goal and an assist against Eden Hall Academy. That is what I care about. Show me your performances in the big games, in the important games against the tough opponents. Okay, I'll continue climbing here. Harmon Esch, guy was on the top 100 last year at number 99. I like his game. I still like the way this kid plays. Give me 12 Harmon Esches on my team. We'll go forecheck the wheels off of people. Like, great effort, great work ethic, great compete level. There's guys on this Caledonia team that have more skill, will produce more goals, will do more X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be. But you need a guy like Esh in your lineup. And maybe not a PP guy, maybe not a high volume offense guy, but he's going to go out, play hard on opposing defenders, muck it up, and take up space to open things up for other players to make plays. And you can't measure this kid's value in goals and assists. So I love this kid. Love kids like this. Fantastic. I'll wrap things up here in the 70s with number 72, Will Schlee. Put up 55 points last season as a sophomore, playing for a 7-win Canton team in the second toughest conference in hockey, the KLAA. You just heard me rave about Beckwith and his consistency and ability to produce in the face of adversity. I think that's the next evolution in Schlee's game is can he find ways to produce against the likes of Heartland, Howell, Brighton? Those are three teams that kept him off the score sheet last season. And I know it's tough. That's a huge challenge, right? I get it. Especially when those are top 10, top 25 caliber teams that can really focus their efforts on shutting you down. But Schlee's coming off of a big fall season. He's played for the nationally ranked Michigan Steel, led that team in scoring with 14 goals. And he's still young, too, just now a junior. So there's a lot of growth and development yet to come still. We'll keep moving along here into the 60s. Landon Leone was out of commission for a bit this offseason and still may take some time to get back to 100% out of the gate here. But between him and Trenton defenseman Patrick Rogowski, the Trojans have a really good tandem on the back end, and I think they offset each other really well too. Leone can be a cerebral, smart on the blue line, make educated plays, and can also play with a little grit, a little sandpaper, mix it up with opposing forwards in the corners. Make life hard around the net for opposing forwards as well. It may take a few weeks, but when Leone gets back to 100%, this Trenton defensive unit could be really impressive too. I know everyone's talking about the offense, and for good reason. More on that in a minute. But don't overlook this decor either. At 68, Nathan Leege and South Lyon are in for a challenge this winter, I think. A good challenge. Strength of schedule goes way up. You got Cranbrook, Stevenson, Salem, Lumen Christie, Plymouth all on the schedule this year. That's a pretty significant bump. Leege put up 59 points as a junior last season, but that was against barely in the top half strength of schedule in the state. Adding some pretty heavy hitters, some blue bloods, some of those KLAA teams will be a really good test, I think, for South Lyon and Leege. And keep in mind, Leege was that Michigan Steel team's leader in points too. So he's coming into the season hot as well. So very curious to see how he holds up against some stiff competition. I'll take a second here. One more for you before we move on. Jake Rao is up 36 spots from a season ago, was number 98 as a sophomore. He's grown a lot physically, mentally within the game as well. Another kid with a AAA background. He's big, rangy, long reach defensively, takes up a lot of ice. He's kind of asked to be two different types of a defenseman, though, and to no one's fault. Skating with MHA this fall, he's a steady, stay at home, make the simple plays type of defenseman. You're surrounded by a lot of talent, so you're not asked to do as much. But then making the transition to the winter season for Tri-Valley, considering his skill set and his experience, he's asked to do quite a bit more in terms of generating offense, which he's certainly capable of doing too. He had 10 goals in 26 points. in just 17 games last season. And the Thunder won 18 games a season ago. Rao, Max Miller, Cam Mayer, all back for the Thunder this season, too. Each of them reached double digits in goals. So it could be another really nice year for Rao in Tri Valley with that supporting cast around him. We're near the halfway point here at number 60. Noah Millette does something not enough kids do that's so important. And hopefully this resonates with those of you watching at home. He does a good job of moving his feet without the puck on his stick. This kid is constantly skating to space, making himself an option, jumping off draws. Oh my God. The amount of faceoffs. He lines up as a winger and jumps into the scrum with the centers like he's going to win the faceoff. I love that so much. I can't tell you how such little things can make such a huge difference. And I wish they tracked face-off wins for everybody, not just the centers. Like, can you imagine what that'd look like? Like, Millette leads the team in face-off wins as a winger. Like, that'd be a very impactful stat, right? I'm totally making that up, but if you could track that, maybe I'm onto something here, right? Maybe some advanced stats, analytics, maybe not a Corsi score per se. Maybe we'll call it a Peterson faceoff, a PFO, where a defenseman slashes in and picks up the loose puck, or wingers pinching in on the faceoff dot, coming away with possession. That'd be cool. We'll go with PFO, Peterson faceoff. Anyway, you want to know what us coaches are talking about when we say skate without the puck or keep your feet moving your entire shift? Watch Millette. Watch Millette play. Charlie Finch is the lone sophomore on this list, which is also the fewest sophomores I've ever had on any list in the 5 years I've been doing this. He was special as a freshman, right? 21 wins, a 927 save percentage, and a 1.53 goals against average. The numbers may fall off for Finch a bit this season, but the workload will certainly increase. And he may very well be the Pioneers' most valuable player to their success this season as a sophomore. EGR is young. A lot of guys still growing, still adjusting to the speed of varsity hockey. Finch should position them to win the games they're supposed to win and just might be able to steal a couple victories you wouldn't expect to go East's way as well. Brogan Turner here from Jeffers at number 52. Great stat here amidst all the success Jeffers achieved last season with that graduating class. The Jets were 20-1 in games Turner recorded a point in last season. Obviously, others factoring into the equation, right? But it certainly illustrates how important he was to the team's success despite having such a senior-heavy class. The question now becomes, can Turner continue to produce at that clip without the likes of Britt Heinonen and Benton Rahala around him? He's still got a pretty good supporting cast around him, don't get me wrong. So I believe he can continue to produce, and I believe the Jets could be a mainstay in the top 25 again this season. We get past the halfway point here. I wanted to talk about Sam Masick for a minute. I referenced Zach Del Monte and what he brings to St. Clair Shores. I think Masick brings that to CC's lineup in a similar way. There might be more talented players in CC's arsenal. Hell, there may even be better defensemen on their blue line than Masick this season. But he's still an exceptionally talented player in his own right. He skates well. He's pretty fluid in his movements on the back end. He handles pucks well and makes some of the simple plays you like to see. But his best asset may very well be just his experience. I talked on the MIHL preview about the sheer amount of turnover this program sees year over year over year in terms of graduating classes. Well, Masick enters his third season for the Shamrocks, and he's still just a junior. But he's been through the process, knows what this coaching staff expects, and I think can be a pretty valuable conduit between the coaches and the players because of it. That again, doesn't get measured in goals and assists, but could be a really important piece to the puzzle for CC looking to defend its title as state champs. A lot of defensemen in this group too. How about Louis Gardine at 72 in last year's rankings? I had to look at my notes real quick. I had 72 written down. I was like, no, he's 45. Anyways, he was 72 in last year's rankings. He's all the way up to 45 this year. I think he's capable of continuing to climb even higher this time next year as well. I think he's still pretty raw, but continues to get better and better. And really, he's already a solid defenseman with his size and ability. His stock is only going to go up from here. One of my favorite defensemen in the class of 2027. I'd definitely have him on my short list for Team Michigan at the end of the season. Very high ceiling for Gardine. And I think we're really going to see flashes, glimpses of what his top end could look like this winter. Colin Strobel, one spot up from that. Another guy I had in my rankings last season. There were defensemen out there more skilled, or maybe have a better shot, or maybe skate prettier than he does. But Strobel, time and time again, makes Team Michigan as a top defenseman, plays for the MDHL's tournament team as a top defenseman, makes the league's showcase as a top defenseman. If there's guys out there more talented, why does he keep earning roster spots? It's between the ears, people. Is right here. This kid is smart. He's been coached real well. He understands the game at a very high level. He made a play in the MDHL last season. So over a year ago, that still sticks with me. And I don't know why, because it was so small and so subtle. But we as coaches might sit here and watch and totally take it for granted because everything went according to plan. But anyway, I'll do my best to paint a word picture here. A forward wheels the puck up top on a power play, basically skates right into Strobel's kitchen, right into a space. And Strobel, instead of just standing there like a stump, like most kids at this level would do, he skated in the same direction as the puck carrier and stayed maybe 8 to 10 feet ahead of the puck carrier, and then drifted deeper and deeper into the zone, drifting towards the net, made himself a passing option, got the pass because the forward skated himself into no other options but to pass it to Strobel. And then Strobel ripped a wrist shot from a scoring area for a great chance. Like I said, I think that painted a pretty good word picture there describing that play, but don't at me about how there's nothing, that's a nothing play or not even a big deal or it's so simple, whatever. It's nothing. If it's nothing, why does nobody do it at this level? That's the real question. So, anyways, impressive play still sticks with me to this day, even though it's been ages ago. Okay, moving on. Eric Locus at 36. I like this Calumet team a lot. And I think Locus can be that tip of the spear for them, leading the charge. He's obviously did that last season with a team high 31 points, but a lot of guys back for the Copper Kings this season, 16 guys. And look, Locus has a nose for the puck. He's constantly hunting down the play, digging pucks out of scrums, following up the play on the rush. Just always seems to be Johnny on the spot when a rebound squirts out, a loose puck bounces over someone's stick. It ends up in his possession. He's just got a way of finding the puck. And when he gets it, he makes plays. Not only that, but if he gets an open look, he can wire some wrist shots at the net too. Up a little higher here. I got a pair of Cranbrook Cranes back to back here at 33 and 34. Both vital to the team's success this season. You heard me talk about both Tice and DeSalvo on the MIHL preview. Cranbrook may not be very deep this year. Could actually be a very challenging one, I think, for Coach LaFontaine and the Cranes. But these are two players at two very important positions that I think can really make players around them better. Tice is good enough to steal games for you in net. kept them in the CC game last year with 37 saves. Not one, but two 26 save shutouts over De La Salle, a gritty 21 save effort in a 2-1 win in the state semis over Jeffers last year. Tice thrives in these low scoring games, and that could very well be the case this season. DeSalvo, on the blog, I gave him an A plus for positioning. He's one of the best position wise in all three zones. And because he's so sound, he can help elevate young defensemen, help support developing forwards. A good center coupled with a good goalie can go a long way for the Cranes this season. I'll wrap things up here with Thad Rainish at 32. I've got 4 Eaglets in the top 100 this year, and not much separates their top guy in the lineup from their 12th guy. It's a very well-rounded, deep group. Rainish, for me, does his best work around the walls. He finishes his checks, and not in an over-the-top way that draws penalties or incites a scrum or anything like that. He just makes sure to put a body on a guy every chance he gets. Doesn't have to blow them up. Just make sure they know you were there. And then after that, he gets off the wall quickly. He attacks with a purpose once he has possession. He led St. Mary's in points last season as a sophomore with 26 goals and 43 points. If they are able to repeat as D3 champs, Rainish will be a big, big reason why. We're getting down to it. Into the 20s. I will admit, I may be a bit high on Luke Goheen and Eli Habitler here. There may very well be better or more talented prospects, even on this list, than where I have them at 28 and 29, respectively. I mean, full transparency. Neither one of them made Team Michigan, despite being at the festival last March. And I'll admit, I got my notes over there. I didn't have them very high on my list when I watched them at the festival, but a lot has changed over the last 8 months. And maybe there's some recency bias from what I saw out of them at the MDHL showcase last month. But the importance that both Goheen and Habitler have in their respective lineups this winter is undeniable. Both should be seen as go-to guys in the Bulldogs and the Sailors offenses, both capable of producing big numbers this winter, and both just have great energy and purpose behind their play. I know they haven't been quote unquote top guys on the state level, but with strong upcoming campaigns, they could position themselves to play their way into a Team Michigan roster spot conversation come March. Moving up a little bit here too at 26, I love being right. I mean, who doesn't, right? But I don't do this list or make predictions and picks to be right. I really don't. It gets you guys excited. It generates a buzz. It gets us all talking about the game. But as I was putting this list together, Zach Stalegrave was one guy that I was like, man, I like him a lot, but do other people am I overvaluing him? Do I think he's something he's not? These CCs and Rices and St. Mary's of the world can be very difficult to project preseason as far as go-to guys, and you second guess yourself a lot. But 2 nights ago, Rice played their season opener against Birmingham Unified. Mind you, my top 100 is complete at this point. Graphics done. My list is set. There is no changing it now. And my guy Stalegrave came through. 2 goals, 3 points, ends up with the game winner as well. The game, I was watching the highlights on State Champs. It just put a smile on my face watching this. Damn right, Petey. At 22, every Batman needs a Robin, right? We'll get a look at Bruce Wayne here in a minute, but how about a moment for Parker Bendall here out of Flint Powers? He does a lot of the dirty work. He does a lot of the forechecking, the scrums along the boards, back checking, defending, taking space away from puck carriers. I love that. Bendel makes a lot of the effort plays that open things up for his teammates. A 3-year guy for Powers who's played in the shadows his entire career. That's not necessarily a bad thing either. Like I said, there's a reason the two work so well together, a yin and yang type of thing. You don't get one without the other, and you don't get the other without the one. So, okay. I could be wrong on this next one, but it feels like Vinny Sabala has something to prove this season at 18. He's coming in with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I could be wrong. Could be wrong. The Eagles played the toughest schedule in the state last season, and Sabala won 14 games with a 9.33 save percentage and a 1.51 goals against average, but wasn't selected for Team Michigan last spring. And I'm not saying he should or he shouldn't have. I'm just pointing out how that can be highly motivating, coupled with losing to CC in the regional final last season. I think you could say the entire Eagles team is playing with a bit of a chip on their shoulders to some degree. And I think because of all that, you could see Sabala's best winter yet, which is hard to imagine putting up even better numbers than a season ago, considering how impressive they were. So if that's the case, state opponents should be on high alert with Sabala. One spot up, Luke Thick. I've raved about this kid all offseason. And don't tell me mid majors don't get a fair shake at these Team Michigan tryouts, man. I've said it for years. Team Michigan is the one thing we've got in high school hockey that does the best job at assembling the best players. It's not perfect, but no system is anywhere in any sport at any level. But Team Michigan is the best that we've got. What makes Thick so good is he is so consistent. He's a madman on the ice every shift. He never stops, constantly around the play, constantly getting puck touches, constantly getting opportunities to create plays. The old adage, if you're that good, they'll find you, it still holds true to an extent. Now, no, a random scout is not going to go out to Fraser on a Wednesday night to watch the Vikings play Utica Unified. Sorry, I don't believe that's going to happen. But if you truly are that good, you'll go out and make a statement with every fucking shift you take at a tryout and force the coaches to use a roster spot on you, like Thick did at Team Michigan last March. You want to know how to do it? There it is. You got to prove it every single shift. Okay. One more before we move on to the top 10 here. We're getting close. Gavin Anderson has posted back to back 20-point seasons for Clarkston, and he's still just a junior. And after the way he looked with MHA Red this fall, he could be in line for a breakout season. 9 goals and 19 points on that MHA team that had a lot of top end guys on it. And Anderson was right there in the mix with all of them. At number 14, he's my highest ranked player from the class of 2027. And I think by season's end, the rest of the state will be in agreement with that too. Okay. Into the top 10 we go. At number 10, Alpena's Gavin Winterstein. He's up 32 spots from last season's top 100. We are fortunate to have Winterstein back in the high school hockey scene this winter, as he damn near made an NA team earlier this fall. We usually don't get the luxury of getting guys back once they embark on junior hockey aspirations, but I'm sure none of us are happier than the boys up in Alpena right now. Cats came up short in the D3 state semifinals last March, but getting Winterstein back makes them an instant contender, moving up to the D2 playoffs this season. Look, this kid is built for junior hockey right now. He proved that in El Paso. He's 6'1", 185, strong on his skates. He's got a heavy shot, understands the game real well too. You know, I almost forgot he played defense at times last season for Alpena and played it well. A 4-year guy with 88 career points in 74 games, just a flat out hockey player through and through. And I'll say this, if they beat CC at home in a couple weeks, you'd be looking at a Mr. Hockey candidate right here at number 10. Before we move any further, let me take a little drink here. I got to rehydrate as we go. All right. We'll move on to number 9. Jack Dirksen is the goalie equivalent of Luke Thick that I just talked about a little bit ago. A year ago, and this is coming from someone who coached and has spent time around Dirksen. A year ago, nobody saw this kid as the best goalie in the state. No one. But things really started to click for him towards the end of last season. And by Team Michigan tryouts, he, like Thick, played so good that they had to take him. And in the 2 games he played for Team Michigan, he had a 938 save percentage and a 2.0 goals against. There's no buyer's remorse there. Hard to argue when he goes out and plays that good. A year ago with Dirksen, I never imagined we'd be talking about junior hockey, but goalies, man, they're traditionally late bloomers. And Dirksen is still young in terms of goalies, too. And here we are, talking about Dirksen as potentially being the best goalie in the state. I think he's still a little bit raw, still needs some polishing and seasoning, but I've got a new sense of confidence in him that Dirksen will get there at some point and could really be a solid junior hockey prospect for someone in the future. Before we get into number 8, ladies and gentlemen, a little breaking news for you on the pod. And I don't get many chances to do this either. Luckily, I was prepared for such an occasion, because at number 8, high school hockey gets another prospect back from junior hockey. Dirksen's goaltending counterpart for Team Michigan spent this offseason in the CCHL with the Pembroke Lumber Kings, coming back to Cap City for the upcoming season. At number 8, it's Sean Story, everybody. And now it's appropriate to have Dirksen and Story as a 1A and 1B here after they split time together with Team Michigan last spring. And if you want to flip-flop them here, so be it. They're super close, obviously. I lean Story, just given his AAA background and the mere fact he was competing for a junior hockey roster spot this fall. He's also a little bit bigger, I believe. Story maybe 6'5" by now, still growing. He's big. He's wildly athletic. You rarely see him out of position or in a scramble situation. And I think that's because he does such a good job on the initial shot. He's square, sucks up a lot of pucks, doesn't give up that second or third chance opportunities. You know who was in this range last year too, by the way? This 8 to 9 range, this Dirksen Story range? Muskegon Lumberjacks goalie, Will Keane. That's right, boys. I'm not saying Dirksen and or Story are, but I'm not saying they're not either. There's potential there. That's all. I'll leave it at that. All right, we'll move ahead here to number 7. We get number 8. Escanaba's Nolan Bank might not get enough credit downstate, but he should be in the conversation as top defenseman in high school hockey. I love his game. He's smart. He skates gracefully, calm with the puck on his stick, makes smart plays. What do they call it in baseball? A five tool player, right? That's Bink in hockey, though. He can do it all, and he knows when to do it too. I think that's important to recognize the difference between a big play and the routine play, and when the time is for each of those. He has an extremely high ceiling and sees a ton of puck touches for the Eskimos on the back end. That's good. There may not be anyone else in the game right now that I want to see get that volume of touches. And every time he's on the ice, he has an opportunity to make a play, rarely forces it, takes what comes to him, and just keeps the game progressing and moving along. He's stout defensively, can keep really tight gaps through the neutral zone. Escanaba is in line for a big season, and I think a lot of that stems from Bink on the back end. We stay in the UP here for number 6. Connor Arco moves up one spot from last season. Back-to-back appearances in the top 10 for Arco. That's pretty impressive. He plays fast, but under control too, meaning he can function very well at top speed. Flashy dekes, navigating through traffic, giving go plays with the puck without breaking stride. I go back to the conversation I had earlier this fall. I've mentioned it on the pod before, but a scout said Arco was Team Michigan's most impactful player. And I think that speaks volumes considering some of the other forwards that were on that team. 35 goals and 90 points in his varsity career. This group of forwards we're getting into here, Winterstein included, we really get into a tier of players that are just on a different level than everybody else. So Connor Arco here at number 6. Chad Patilla is one of 4 players this year to appear on this list 3 consecutive years. Escanaba's Graham Johnson and Nolan Bink, the other 2, and one more coming up shortly as well. Patilla debuted in the top 100 as a sophomore, 76th on the list 2 years ago, all the way up to 39th last year, and now 5th as a senior this winter. I actually got a chance to coach Patilla and the Highlanders in a fall league game against Brighton this past September. So I got an up close look at his game and the team as a whole. He plays with this level of confidence, almost a swagger, right? As if he knows he's the best player on the ice. He also plays right on the edge, that sweet spot that a lot of AAA type players thrive on. Constantly engaging pre and post whistle, getting under the opponent's skin. The head games are just as important as the on ice game for a lot of these types of guys. At the high school level, it can be a bit frustrating because there's just a lower level of tolerance for the antics behind the play and after the whistle type stuff. But I think that style serves a lot of guys well in preparing them for the junior and college level. He's got the skill, the game, and the attitude to play on. So it will be very interesting to see if and where he lands 1 year from now post graduation. All right, number 4, Ben Milak, the other player to appear on the list 3 years in a row. I actually moved him down one spot from last year. Big demotion, right? Big demotion from 3 to 4. It's more what others have done, not necessarily any shortcomings of his. Milak has had a great 12 months since returning from the NCDC. Stellar junior year, made Team Michigan, looked great this fall with MHA Red. He may not be the best skater or have the best shot of this group. He may not be the best at any one particular skill set, but Milak has an exceptionally well-rounded game, one that I don't know if others do. Um, Others are really great skaters, but lack the hockey IQ. Others have a high hockey IQ, but have bricks for feet. I think Milak is just really good at everything. A jack of all trades, if you will. I also think he sees the game exceptionally well and shows an ability to make others around him better. Puts pucks into spots where his guys can go make plays. He may not have the big statistical seasons that others do, but that's because he's consistently making the right plays for the sake of the game and not necessarily his stat line. Rangers may not have a big enough year to justify it, but I'd certainly have Milak in the discussion for Mr. Hockey and for Player of the Year based on his skills, his ability, and obviously his future prospects as well. All right, number 3 here, Donovan Durbin, a guy I didn't even have on my list a year ago, checks in at number 3. Like I said, I like being right, right? But I have no issues admitting I'm wrong with this stuff, and I was wrong about that. Durbin was a 37 goal, 72 point season last winter. He did have a gap year his sophomore year where he played for OJG. So I'll admit, he wasn't on my radar this time last year as a quote unquote returning player because of that, because he was playing AAA the prior year. So -1 for Petey, though. I'll wear that. Look, I've been talking about Durbin all off season. When I watched MHA Red at the Kickoff Classic in Grand Rapids, he looked like the team's best forward, and I stand by that. He's poised for another big winter with the Trojans. He's a finisher, pure goal scorer. He gets an open look. Durbin is going to finish. And this year in particular, he'll have a great supporting cast around him. Zach LeMay was on the list a few slides ago. Grandin Eccles in the mix offensively. I talked about a few of the defensemen as well. There's no shortage of guys who can create opportunities and get Durbin opportunities in space. It's hard to imagine him topping that 72-point performance from a season ago, but he very well might with so many good things happening for him and for the Trojans ahead of this season. Before we get to the final two, I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth multiple times with number 1 and number 2, flip-flopping these guys a few times. I settled on Luke Storm here at number 2. In the blog, I wrote, we haven't seen such a dominant, physically imposing player in high school hockey since Jake Bonet in 2017, 2018. Like a Derrick Henry of high school hockey, a freak athlete built in a lab, 6'3", skates like the wind, crafty with the puck, heavy shot, just a man amongst boys. Storm is bigger and faster and stronger and more skilled than everyone else on the ice. And I say Jake Bonet earlier because I remember feeling this way coaching him in his senior year. He was so much better and bigger than everyone else on the ice. You worried he was going to hurt someone, and not on purpose, but just someone gets in the way of his shot or by him just manhandling someone along the walls. The other thing too is when Storm decides to go, there's no stopping him. Like he takes it to the net hard and he gets there and he generates grade A opportunities with the puck on his stick. He has all the tools, the size, the ability. Howell's Luke Storm here at number 2, which leads us into the number 1 player atop my 2025 top 100 names to know in Michigan high school hockey, Aiden Cook. The internal debate for me between number 1 and number 2 ultimately ended when I just thought to myself, if my life was on the line and I needed a goal, who am I taking? And the answer is Aiden Cook. In my 12 to 15 plus years of high school hockey, I don't know that I've ever seen a player more clutch in the game's biggest moments than Aiden Cook. No stage is too bright, no moment too big, no game plan good enough to keep him from coming through in the big moments. Stevenson literally handcuffed a defender to Cook in the D2 state final last season. This kid shadowed Cook everywhere he went, attached at the hip. Cook went for a line change and the Stevenson kid followed him to the bench. That strategy broke down for 2 seconds. And in that brief moment, Cook came through with the game-tying goal. He did it in the quarterfinals with a 5-point performance and the game-winning goal in overtime to eliminate Marquette 2 games prior. He produced scoring opportunities for Team Michigan. He scored game-winning goals in the shootout of the MHA showcase. And some of those moments are obviously bigger than others. But the point remains the same. When you needed a goal, doesn't matter if there's 3 people in the stands or 3,000 people in the stands, Cook is coming through. I said it earlier this year. I think we're spoiled in this year in particular with the amount of talent and prospects returning to high school hockey this year. Cook was a North American League draft pick last spring. Story and Winterstein were chasing junior teams roster spots a month ago. Milok in his NCDC experience. These are guys who have proved they can play at the next level and choosing to come back for one more year. I think it speaks to the environment we have here in high school hockey. I think it speaks to the development that happens at this level. It's unique, it's different than anywhere else. Cook himself said as much in a recent post that was on. That was done by the Coaches Association. So I really think we're just lucky to have him and a lot of these guys back for one more year. And I'm really looking forward to this group and this season. And I've ended every top 100 list with the same quote every year because it holds true. And The Office, as funny as it is, really does have a moment for everything in life. If you're on this list, prove me right. If you're not on this list, prove me wrong. Look, guys, I put a ton of work into this every year. Days at the rink, hours here in the studio, talking with coaches, working on the graphics, the presentations. You love watching it. I love doing it. Hit that subscribe button for me if you could. It helps me a ton. Our goal, like I said, this year is to get to 1,000 this season. Plus, there's a ton more. I know this is our biggest episode of the year, but it's far from our only episode of the year. We're just getting started here. I'll have games of the week, players to watch, storylines that unfold throughout the season. So much more to come, and you don't want to miss it. And the only way to know is if you subscribe. All right. Who'd I miss? Who's too high? Who's too low? Connect with me on social media. Always happy to talk hockey. Until next time, skate hard, have fun. I'll see you at the rink soon.